the channel. My name's Tanya. I am a doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 11, 7, and 6. If you are interested in videos about secular homeschooling, raising a child with ADHD, and living a more essentialist lifestyle, you have come to the right place, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing 10 of my personal best tips for how to navigate the world of ADHD parenting during this strange time of quarantine. But before I get into those tips, I want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by moretoadhd.com, which is a new website designed for us parents of children with ADHD on navigating how to best scaffold them as they grow, as they go to school, as they learn, as they manage their executive functioning skills, etc. The website also offers a subscription to a magazine called Attention, so definitely check my links in the description box down below and explore the website on your own. It has a wealth of video resources as well as articles that can be very, very helpful to all of us. I've been exploring it myself and taking notes along the way, so I think it's a worthwhile resource for you to check out. Again, that's moretoadhd.com. Getting back into the topic of this video, I want to share 10 tips, 10 practical tips that I have developed just in my own experience as a mom of a son with ADHD in how to best get through this strange time that we're all living in right now. Quarantine and the pandemic has really changed the normal course of our days, whether or not you are a homeschooling parent or a parent who typically sends their child to school. Whether you are a working parent or a work from home parent, your day has been upended by the pandemic, and so has the life of your child. And just to reiterate, these tips are my own personal tips. They are not from moretoadhd.com, though certainly on several of these websites you will see similar tips reiterated. My first tip is a very simple one, but probably hard to achieve. It is to start with who you are and what you have. The temptation when we learn that our child has ADHD or when like a new schedule is upended is to go to a book or go to a website and implement exactly what they say, to find a model schedule, a model routine, and implement that exactly. I would advise you not to do that. Sit down with your child, sit down with all your children and your spouse, and figure out as a family, what are your values? What are your most important things? What are your essentials? What must happen in a day for you guys to feel fulfilled? What must not happen in a day for you to feel fulfilled? Do you want to protect your weekend time? Do you want to protect your nighttime? Do you want to schedule events for that time? Are you more introverted? Are you more extroverted? Figure out everybody's sort of input in what would make an ideal kind of weekday for you guys and work from there. Build off of who you actually are and who your child actually is, not some random schedule that a book has suggested to you or that an influencer has suggested to you, because my child and my family dynamic is going to be different than yours, and that's totally fine. Work with what you have. Decide how much time you have in a day to play with your children, to interact with them, to do chores, to monitor homework, etc., and then build from there. Don't try to force your life into like one mold, because we are all different and that is okay. Tip number 2 comes right off of tip number 1, and that is to build routines. When you think about your routines, build them based on your family values. So decide what your absolute essentials are. Is family dinner together an essential? Make that at a certain time every single day. Is family reader aloud an essential? Make that at a certain time every day. I do this thing called high five in the morning, where before my kids come downstairs, they have to give a high five to me to say that they have made their bed, put their clothes in the hamper, their pajamas, put on new clothes, cleaned up their bathroom area, and picked up 3 things from their room and put them away. And they come and they give me a high five, and it's just a nice little routine built in the morning. With ADHD, our kids have trouble with executive functioning. Executive functioning is basically creating a plan in your mind and seeing it through to execution. This first this, then that kind of stepwise thinking. And if they don't have that skill so strongly yet, you want to help build it for them. So that high five gives all my kids just that extra little help. It is that routine. They know exactly what the 5 is. They get to have a positive interaction at the end of it, and then they go start their day. So you're building in a little incentive, like you get to do this because it's regular, it's routine, it's easy for you to remember, and we get to have a good, cheerful start to our day. My third tip is to pack chores and the necessary activities of our day into those routines. Build chores and things into the regular rhythm of the day. So as I said with a high five, those are their personal chores. It's built into the rhythm of the day. When my kids get downstairs, they have their each individual chores. And after lots of periods of trial and error, I realized that for my kids, it works best if every child has the same chore in the morning every day. So the youngest, who's just turned 6, like puts new soap in the dishwasher, gets out the cereal bowls and the silverware. The eldest fills the water bottles for everybody. The middle child gets out fruit. She gets to select it. She feels empowered that way. She puts it on the cutting table. Everything's ready to go. That gives them responsibility, that invests them in the family structure. It's really important to make it easy, right? So wherever you can make things like that easy on yourself, do that. My fourth tip is also about making routines easy. Tie things to inflexible points, like times and days of the week. We have a system where twice a week, each one of my 3 children is called first helper and first one on call. Basically what that means is, for example, on Sunday and Wednesday is my eldest's day. And on that day, he gets to be first helper. If I need anybody extra, like if I'm painting something or if I'm vacuuming something, they get to be the one to help me. But they also get to be the first chooser. So if we're in the car, they get to choose the song, they get to choose the DVD. If it's a movie that we're all gonna watch together in the afternoon, they get to choose that. They get the advantage of having one-on-one reading time with mom that night. They get advantages at the same time that they have increased responsibility. On their day of the week, once a week, they also do their own laundry. I have Alexa remind them that they have to bring their laundry down right around breakfast time, so they've already gotten their day started. They feel empowered. They know that they're responsible for their own things, and we're making it easy for them because it is the same every single week. They know that this is their laundry day. The Alexa's giving them an extra reminder. I can give them an extra reminder. And as I've always said, with our kids with ADHD, do not be harsh if they forget. Give them a physical touch, like put your hand on their shoulder, make some eye contact, let them know, hey, it's your laundry day. I think it's your laundry day. Is it your laundry day? Anywhere where you can make it lighter, where you can be light about the request, the better. And give them that opening to be helpful, Give them a compliment. Hey, you did your laundry so well last week. I think today's your laundry day. Wherever you can say it in a positive way, do it that way. I kind of talked about tip number 5 already, which is tying that reward to the responsibility. When we talk about stacking our habits, when we talk about replacing bad habits with good ones, we want to stack them with things that already work with our routine, right? We want to make them pleasurable experiences. So if we exchange, for example, an extra 5 minutes in front of the television for doing our laundry, we want to make that a positive exchange. We want to make it a naturally good thing. So if it becomes a thing where you are always like yelling at them to do their laundry, then they've exchanged like good time for like a bad time. So try to make it as positive as possible. Try to help them with it if they need it. And when they're free to do it on their own, let them do it on their own. Let them take responsibility for it. If it's not the best way of doing it, let that slide. They will pick up all those skills as they go on. Help them out until they can get there themselves. But if it's 90% good enough, that is good enough. Give them all the praise in the world, really. Every one of us as human beings wants to be praised. Every one of us wants that human connection where we feel like people like having me around. So when you fold in these chores and things like that, when you tie them to days, give them that positive reinforcement, like you're doing an awesome job. Thank you so much. And some parents I find have this reaction against saying thank you to your kids for doing their own jobs. I don't. I think it's great. I think that the more we can encourage each other as people, the better. I wish everybody would tell me I was doing a great job when I did laundry, don't you? My 6th tip is to create distinct zones, both physical and time-wise, for work and for play. Now, this is a bit of a controversial topic in the homeschooling community because a lot of homeschoolers homeschool all throughout their house, homeschool all throughout the day. They call everything homeschooling, including cooking and laundry and everything. In a way, that is true. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the sit-down work that has to get done. I'm talking about the worksheets or the math or whatever you have to turn into your teacher or the Zoom class, etc. Make it easy on your child. get a distraction-free area so that your child can really have their best shot at focusing. Don't let them do their Zoom class where all of their toys are, because that's not going to work out well. You can't get frustrated at them later because they played with all their Legos at the same time if they weren't supposed to. However, if your child can focus and play with their Legos at the same time, that's something to consider. Maybe give them a basket of fidgets or a basket of things to like help them, get through their lesson while they're there. But make it a controlled kind of environment so that they don't have siblings running in and out of there. They don't have extra jobs to do in the middle. Nobody's yelling at them to like put their laundry in the dryer, etc. in the middle of their classes. In the same way, create distinct work and play zones for you, where you schedule in the time to be with your children in a playful and fun way, and also the time to be with yourself or your spouse in a work way, because you need to let your kids know, particularly if they're home all the time, that, mommy works from home. From this time to this time is my work time and you cannot interrupt me. I think a lot of frustration arises when we don't set clear boundaries and then we expect people to magically know what they are. So set the boundary. You can have a simple sign like a ribbon on a doorknob or a little sign out that says, working. Please come back later unless it's an emergency. Clarify what that emergency is. I think setting our boundaries for ourselves and for our children during this time of work and school from home is essential. Tip number 7 is to make learning comfortable whenever possible. We have this tendency to confuse comfort with easy, and those are not the same things. You don't have to make something incredibly easy for it to be comfortable. If a child wants to watch their Zoom class curled up with a blanket on the couch, let them do that. If they can focus better that way, great. If they want snacks at the same time, make sure they have snacks. If they want to have their basket of fidgets, let them have that. Figure out by asking them what makes them the most comfortable. How can we make you have a more enjoyable experience with what is admittedly kind of difficult for all of us? The best way to figure out what makes them comfortable is to talk to them and to do trial and error. Sometimes we think we want to sit down on the floor and do our class. Sometimes we are wrong. Sometimes that hurts and we don't get comfortable. So let them have that room for error and discuss that beforehand. Say that I'm going to work with you. These are my parameters. I need you to be in a quiet room. I need you to focus on your lesson. How can we best make that happen? What do you need to be more comfortable during this lesson? I think always reminding our kid that we're on their side, that we want this to be as comfortable as possible for them, that we don't want them to suffer at all, is really important. And it goes a long way to making them listen to us when we have actual requests of them that may be less comfortable, because they know that we are still on their side. There are just some things you can't get around. Tip number 8 is all about time and rhythms and our own personal body rhythms. So we're all different. There's morning people, there's night people, there's all sorts of different ways of learning and being most effective and efficient. I will say, for my child with ADHD, I have found it very helpful to schedule in break time and to use timers to let him know when they're coming. So for example, if I know that we have about an hour's worth of math ahead of us, I will break that up into 20-minute sections and give him a 10-minute break in between, because that way he can see the timer count down and he knows that at this time he's going to get a 10-minute break to do whatever he wants, and then at the end of that timer he can come back and continue, and it's not this endless slog. Time blindness is a common issue among children with ADHD, so a visual timer like a sand timer or a timer that shows the countdown going down is really helpful to a child with ADHD, and I've actually done specific videos on timers, so go ahead and check out my ADHD playlist and you can learn more about that. In terms of body rhythms, one of the things we incorporate in our homeschool is this Waldorf education idea of switching from one type of activity to another. So a more academic or head-based activity to a more body-based activity like yoga or doing your multiplication facts on a trampoline or something like that, to a more art or spirit-based activity where we're using our hands to create something, where we're painting or using clay, etc., to a more listening-based activity where perhaps I'm reading aloud and they're drawing or something. So we try to shift every half an hour so that we fall into this rhythm where we know something else is coming, so that we don't fall into this oh, I'm gonna sit here forever kind of feeling. Tip number 9 is to get your child's input. We do not do this enough. I am guilty of it myself. Anytime you can ask their opinion, do it. If you're not sure, and you probably aren't a lot of the time, ask them what's wrong. Ask them how you can make it better. Ask them, if you could do this at any time of the day, when would you do it? We know it has to get done, but when would you like to do it? And try it out their way and see if that works. Some people do their math wonderfully at 8 o'clock at night. If that's how it's gonna go, let that be. Give your child some control over their own development, because honestly, we are all different, whether we have ADHD or not. And the earlier we can have power over our own schedule, over our own life, the more in control we feel and the more our executive functioning skills develop. If somebody else is always handling our plans for us, we don't have that need to really reflect and figure out how am I going to make this work? Which is what adulthood is about, which is what we're getting our children to, right? This is the goal, is to make them more self-sufficient in this way. So ask them their opinion, get their input, and then put it into place. Set your parameters, let them know what has to be done, but ask their input and respect it and see how it goes and be on their team. Sometimes their opinion won't work. Sometimes you'll try it out, it won't work. Maybe you go back to your way then. Or maybe you ask them, well, that didn't work. What would you like to do next? We can really give our children so much respect, and that in turn will help them develop their own executive functioning skills and their own sense of autonomy. Tip number 10 to round this out is just to notice the good. Whenever you can, give praise. Whenever you notice something good, give praise. I think that we as people thrive off of knowing that we're doing well. And I think whenever you can touch your child in a gentle way, whenever you can hug them or let them know that they've made you laugh, whenever you look at them with that smile crinkling your eyes, a little part of them grows. And it doesn't have to be the executive functioning part, and it doesn't have to be the self-control part, but a part of their actual spirit grows. And that is so, so important for all of us. So whenever you can say, you did an awesome job, wow, I'm impressed with that. Show me more. Tell me more about your idea. I think they feel seen. I think they feel valued. I think they realize that they are important to your family, that their behavior matters, their words matter, their self-control matters. So at every opportunity, try to see the good and try to note it. Notice it out loud for them so they know exactly how amazing they are. So those are my 10 personal tips for parenting a child with ADHD during this strange coronavirus pandemic time that we're living in right now. So just to remind you, this video was sponsored by moretoadhd.com. The tips provided are entirely my own, but the website does include several free resources for you to aid you and to guide you in this journey with your child. So be sure to check them out. All the relevant links will be in the description box down below. And as always, you guys, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you the very best day.